So my name is Laveena Ramchandani, and today I'm going to be talking about a topic that sometimes, or actually most of the times, it's an afterthought, and that is accessibility. It's called Ali over there. It's because between A and the Y, there's 11 characters, so you shorten it to Ali. And I just wanted to speak about this non-functional area because it is an important aspect, specifically when you have front-end apps and also back-end apps. I'll explain why. So before we get started, I wanted to talk about myself. So I've been testing over 8 years now. I think it's about 9.5 years. I've studied computer science. Never knew what testing was about because I fell into it, and that's where I learned what the testing and the QA world is all about. I am an avid blogger, so I blog a lot. You can check my blogs out on Medium. I am a speaker. I speak a lot internationally as well. I am a host for many testing conferences here in London. I'm a trainer for testing as well at the Coders Guild, which is a government initiative. And I work at EasyJet, and as you all know, just recently been promoted to test manager there. So at EasyJet, I'm focusing on the digital aspect of the application we've got, as well as data science, because that's the core area that I like to focus into when testing. Okay, so today's table of contents includes some background, how I got into accessibility. It's got why accessibility is important, why should we do this, the benefits around this. Then part 2 goes into how did I bring accessibility into my team, what did I do, coach your teams, help your teams understand it, have that sort of culture in your team. And then finally, part 3 would be when to do accessibility and the tips. Okay, so the power of the web is in its universality. Access by everyone, regardless of disability, is an essential aspect. So this quote for me is super, super important, and it's by Tim Berners-Lee. It just helps all of us understand that we're not using an application just for our customers, but it's about our people as well. You may have someone within your team who may be colorblind and may not be able to access the application just like you can. So are we thinking about them? So let's get into some background information then. So these are some stats that I took last year actually. And as you can see, the numbers are quite big. And these are the amount of people who are or have some sort of disability and are still working. So if you think about these big numbers, they're not small numbers. They're not 10, they're not 5. They're big, giant numbers. Are we making it accessible for them? So that's a question to think about. Color blindness in the UK itself. So as you can see, it affects 1 in 12, and 1 in 12 men actually, and 1 in 200 women worldwide. And as you can see the stat below, 8.4 million people of the working age between 16 and 64 reported that they were disabled in October to December 2020, which is 20% of the working age population. So again, big stats, and that tells us that we should be focusing on this area and not making it an afterthought. Right, so some companies that have done it right and wrong. So let's try and see what Netflix, Domino's, and Amazon didn't do greatly. And it just took one person to actually sue them. And the reasons behind these are. So Netflix was basically, the National Association of the Deaf failed to make available the closed captioning for most of its content. So that got difficult for users to utilize the website. I missed Nike there. So they were visually impaired, changing tapping for them. You couldn't literally tap on their website, so you couldn't use your keyboard whilst trying to search things you wanted on their website. So that was quite intense. And then you had Amazon back in 2018, not accessible to visually impaired people, incompatible with Braille displays. So that was that. And then you have Beyonce's company, Park Entertainment, who in 2019, in their website, sold concert tickets. However, it wasn't accessible for one blind fan there. So it took that one person to actually sue them for that. Now let's look at the people who did it right. So we've got NHS here, we've got Tesco, and we've got Legal and General. So what did they actually do to get this sort of positive feedback? So basically, NHS tried to focus on their AAA WCAG standards, which are the standards that all companies set when they are focusing on their accessibility, whether that's a single A, AA, or AAA. Most companies, AA. Important companies like healthcare, other companies like governmental companies try and focus on the AAA. So they basically tried to focus as much as they could and tick off the audit for AAA. And in 2018, they had the 53% audit getting passed, but in 2019, they had 98% being passed. So that's really, really good numbers. And then Legal and General, they had audit issues, they fixed it, and then their search trafficking increased really high. Tesco, so they had an accessible alternative website, which actually helped blind people shop with better experience and get great user journeys throughout all of that. And they used about 70 blind people within Tesco who worked there to actually test their application. So, big question, are we making it accessible for them? So for individuals without a disability, technology makes things easier. For individuals with a disability, whether that's permanent, temporary, or permanent and temporary, technology makes things possible. So let's think of a simple example. Right now I'm wearing contact lenses, but when I wear my glasses, they're my assisted technology. They help me because I can't see far. So I need that for my daily work, and because I'm on my laptop day in, day out, I need that to use for my eyes to stay healthy and whatnot. So that's a temporary kind of disability that I have, and I could improve my eyesight, of course. So you need to focus on things that way. So how did I come across accessibility as a tester? So basically, I was in a bank working, and we had this application that was a front-end facing application, and customers were going to use it. Now, we went live, and the test manager came running to me asking, did you do any accessibility checks, or did you check if that's part of definition of done? And that's where I was like, what are you even talking about? This is the first time I'm hearing that word. And it got me really shocked that I've missed something critical, and because of that, we might end up having bad kind of reputation out there. So that's where it alarmed me, and it got me thinking and researching into this. However, we handled the situation well, and we didn't get any sort of consequences, but it was just like a wake-up alarm for me. So why did I think of this topic? Because I think accessibility, for many companies I've noticed, I've researched, I've asked many people, it's an afterthought. Now, it really, how shall I put it in nicer words? It bugs me a little bit that why is it an afterthought? Why can't it be something that you pick up when you start planning your product? Why can't it be part of definition of done? Why can't you have tickets in your backlogs already about this? Even though it's one ticket or just a research ticket you could create. So that's what got me thinking. And just wanted to see some hands up. Who's aware of accessibility here in this room? Fabulous. First time I'm seeing so many hands up, actually, so that's excellent. And according to all of that I researched, I went down into useful resources and advocates that I started following in the testing community, learning from them, trying to understand from them what is it that they do that I could bring in my workplace and make it a better place when it comes to this sort of non-functional side of testing. And that's where I started blogging with those advocates and understanding things that I never knew about. So, why is accessibility important? So think about the community. We are a massive community. We are building a relationship with our community, so why not make it a positive relationship? It's a smart decision business-wise. You're picking these things earlier rather than later, because later it can end up being a massive lawsuit. It's innovation. It's driving innovation because you are thinking about these things before you actually release the product. So it's super, super important. Brand-wise, it helps enhance your brand, and you stand out in the public. People want to use your product. They won't derail to using other products. Market research, basically, you're extending your market research. You're trying to make sure that it's an inclusive product. Everyone can access this. And legalities, so it's minimizing legal risks. So something I like to always say is manage your legalities before they manage you. Okay, so some of the benefits that I would like to speak about around accessibility here is as well, as I mentioned just now, it allows wider audience to be involved with your product. You get better feedback loops as well. It increases usability. So if you are just focusing on a certain market, you are really losing out on a lot of your product. So increases your usability, increase the people using it, you'll get better feedback, people will like to use your product more, and you'll be like a market lead in this area as well. It also satisfies current and future legal requirements and ethics, as well as improves maintainability and efficiency. So if you think of bringing accessibility as an afterthought, what will happen there is you will go back into the loop of understanding how can you bring it in, and that is time, costs, and other issues within resourcing, for example. However, if you start this from the very start, so shift left with your testing, so start earlier, get your testers involved, get the tickets coming up, you are improving maintainability and efficiency because you're thinking about these things ahead of time. That's why your front-end application design will be accessible as well. Your code will make sure that it's complying with the accessible best practices as well. So a little video here. Okay, so this is my home last year, refurbing it, and I came across something really funny. So I saw that the previous owners had a handle outside the door. However, there was no handle inside the door. So I wonder, how were you locking your door, or how would you close your door? Was it open all day long? Now, this is a simple, accessible issue. Of course, me having those gloves on, and I had longer nails because post-wedding I had my shiny nails and longer nails because of my wedding. I just tried opening the door, and it opened up. But if someone gets stuck in there and they don't have nails or they can't do it, how would you do it? Would you find a pen or something to open it? Or if you don't have a pen, what would you do? You're stuck, really. So this is what we call a trap. Can you imagine someone with a temporary or a permanent disability being trapped on your websites? What do? Simple. They go to the competitor website and find a way out there. Simple as that. That's how we lose customers, and that's what I've seen, a lot of trends. So try and avoid traps for people who have a disability, because they are going to find another solution, and that's going to hurt the company and their reputation. Part 2 then, how did I bring accessibility to the team? So now this is a difficult topic to just bring in because it's always pushed back. And as a tester, I'm super, super excited, all the time motivated. I want to do this, I want to do that. I want to do this, I want to do that. I want to bring in this, I want to bring that. But I get pushed 10 steps back. And that really annoys me. But you have to push through, you have to see the positives. So the reason I got really annoyed and I had to find ways of bringing this back was because I spoke to a manager in a very well-reputed company, and I said to them, I would like to bring in accessibility because this is a front-end app that we are using. Our clients are in different countries. They may have different needs, and we are not complying with it at all. I have done some audits here, and you can have a look at these results. However, what happened there was I got told, we are a B2B company. We are not a B2C. So, sorry, I got told, we are a B2C company, we are not a B2B. And I was like, that is really confusing me, but do we only care, do we not care about our customers? But in her answer, I understood that we don't really care about this area. We don't care if the customers get trapped or not. And we are not worried if our own people get trapped. So as a tester, I was testing it. There was a developer. There were loads of people involved there. So anyone could be colorblind. I could have had a fractured arm. I can't tab through the application. So I'm stuck. I can't do my testing. So that's what made me think those special words from the manager, that I have to bring it in and I'm going to make sure I do it, no matter how long I get pushed back, but I'm going to put that seed and I'm going to let that flower grow. So how did I do it? So I started chatting about accessibility to the team members. I tried to get them to understand what it is. So I presented a few things. So I made slides. I made them very informative. And I made sure that some results were part of those slides so that they can understand what I'm trying to do. And then I worked on my communication. So it's not just about selling an idea, getting a buy-in. It's about working on yourself too. Sometimes when you're too excited, you'll be like, oh, I definitely want this, we should do this, we should do that. But the person listening to you may not get that. So sometimes, you know, when we are talking, we may think that everyone's understanding what I'm trying to say, but there will be a percentage of people who will not understand what I'm trying to say. So we need to focus on how to get the message clear to everyone. Then I started speaking to the teams and individuals, try to see what do they think about it. Have they come across some situation like this in their past experiences or not? Did a little bit of research, suggested options that I've done this research, I've done this audit. What do you think? Should we do this? Shall I get some tickets ready? Shall I speak to the product owner and see what she thinks? And then create a report of the product. So I went and I created a very basic Word document where I wrote down the application I tested, lighthouse reports, screen reader reports, wave reports, Axe reports, just showing them how many vulnerabilities I caught. Those numbers didn't seem very shocking to the team, and that really worried me. But I kept going on and on and on and on, and then finally someone, the technology manager, thought this was a great idea, and finally we tried to get some tickets in the backlog item. So, in order to get the team to understand, you need to coach your team and make them understand what is the end goal of all of this. Of course, we are all trying to deliver a good quality product for everyone to use. So what did I do? I delivered information, as I suggested earlier. I became an SME, an advocate for accessibility in the team. I was speaking across teams about this as well, and trying to see if they have had any experiences or tools that we could potentially use in-house, or see if we need to go for another tool or pay for a tool. So I have to back my point, of course. If I'm trying to get a buy-in, you need to back your point, because sudden change or sudden ways of change in process within your testing or development can impact your members, and you don't want them to get worried or scared that they have to do a bit of extra work, but they should want to do that too. So of course I took some outputs, research report, showed them all to my team, and I tried to get back my point with that. I had to convince, of course, as well, the best part. So I explained that about accessibility, making sure I deliver the vital details, and I don't go just round the bush, just trying to do the same thing again and again. And then how do I know they understand? So it's super, super important that I should get the sort of confidence that what I delivered was understood by them as well. So what information they understand or find as blockers. So we had a really, really good discussion here, and basically tried to get all my team together and see their opinions and try to remove as many blockers or elephant in the room situations that they think of accessibility, but it's actually not true, or something that I'm trying to deliver, but it's way far beyond, but we could maybe break it in smaller chunks and go forward. So these are the type of things that will help your team enhance their quality, and keep spreading their testing eminence wherever they go. Okay, so when and how to do accessibility testing. So it's very important that you understand what accessibility is, and first of all, have some sort of research that you've done on the product, and then decide when can you start. Simple answer, as earlier as possible. The minute you come to know it's a front-end facing app, try to put this in your definition of done. Simple colors on your website are not accessible for certain people. Simple way of designing your application can really force people to other websites. So try and make it accessible, just like Tesco did, for example, so that people stay stuck to your website and they continue being your loyal customers. So question, how and when? So I would suggest as early as possible, try and shift left rather than shift right. When should we do it? Design and planning sessions. If you're doing agile, if you're doing waterfall methodologies, then as earlier as possible in the analysis phase, design phase. So it's a good phase to start as earlier as possible. Requirements gathering situation as well. If you're in a team capturing your requirements, understanding new clients, I would suggest start as early as possible there as well, because that helps your client as well as your team to have a roadmap of what's coming, including accessibility in it. Right, the good old budget. Big topic in many teams, and it gets told many times as well. So when I also introduced this idea, I got because the B2B and B2C didn't get sold really well to me, then the budget was the one that was the next topic to be sold to me. And I didn't want to hear anything about that, because would you rather have your product being sued, or would you rather work a little extra earlier and then deliver a top quality, accessible product for everyone? So would you rather risk it? There are loads of free tools available. Literally all the tools I mentioned earlier, from Axe to Wave to Lighthouse, screen readers on your Windows and Macs, they're all free. You can start using them as simple audit tools. You also want to reach out to more people. So if you are thinking about budget, you're really closing yourself down to a specific market only. And at the end of the day, it is important. So what to include in my report? So I spoke about research, I spoke about me doing some sort of reports, but what did I actually include in it? So areas that I tested, those are important. Whether it takes you a week to a month, include all the areas, try and summarize them if you like, your results, and some suggestions. So it's really nice that if you have ideas that this orange is not looking good, but there's an orange right next to it that I've tested on the dev tools that is accessible, that's AA standards, we can continue with that. If you can get the design team to, if you can go to the design team and give them suggestions, you're being helpful to them too. So try and kind of include these sort of things. Results. So you become an advocate, you become an SME, you're spreading more eminence wherever you go. People might want to come and talk to you, how you want to bring in accessibility into other teams, or what are your steps. And you feel accomplished because team members are starting to approach to you, they keep you in loop, especially the UX UI designers. I remember they wanted me to pass their designs before you could put the design into a final stage. So, follow my steps. I would start with step 1, where you research what is accessibility and try and understand what are the benefits you could bring to your team and to your product. Test your application, have some details to showcase, always have something to back up. Step 3 would be to prepare an informative session with all your managers, hire managers, and your team members to explain what you've researched. And have accessibility as part of your testing approach. And what happens after that? You are alified. So you are capturing all of the accessibility needs, and you are trying to be as accessible as possible. Some quick checks and tips that I'd like to give away. You can have those plugins downloaded straight away into your applications right now. You've got Arc Toolkit, which is really, really good. Something I found really funky there was it tells you with numbers how you should be going on your the user journey of a user on your web page. So I found that super useful. And when I was testing some websites, I was like, wow, this is so not a great user journey, because there was 1 here, 2 down there, 3 up there. It's like just going up and down, and that doesn't help. So Arc Toolkit actually helps me understand that. You've got Axe, which you can automate these days as well. You've got Wave, Lighthouse, which is an audit tool. You can remove styling. So there's a small percentage of people in the world, actually, who do not like higher bandwidth. And they remove images from their websites completely. They just focus on the bits they need. If your website can work without images, you've done a fabulous job. But if it can't, then you can't deliver for those people as well, even though it's a small percentage. And of course, screen readers. Again, if you want to view how someone with fast 3G or slow 3G would visualize your application, you can do that with DevTools as well. You can also emulate eyesight disabilities. So as you can see some over there, these are color visions that some people have, and you can actually put those on your website, and your website color changes. You can check if it's great or not. And again, with colors, you can see the AA, AAA standards, and you can see the contrast ratio gets double ticks. That means you're doing well. So these are quick checks, quick wins you can show to your team. Okay, so 4 principles of accessible content then. Can I perceive it? Is it perceivable? Can I use it? Is it operable? Can I grasp it? Is it understandable? And can I access it? Is it robust enough? Is it maintainable enough? So I'm just making a little cake in a cup. But as you saw, I've just put some of the ingredients in, hoping for a nice fluffy little cupcake in that mug. But I was making blueberry muffin inside there, and I put the blueberries at the end. So think of accessibility as that. If you put your blueberries inside before, it would taste better. If you put it at the end, it doesn't even look beautiful. So something for all of you to think about. So in summary, accessibility should not be an afterthought. Try and put the seed into your teams, speak to them, show them some results. Introduce this to all teams where possible. Maybe they already have something, but they've stopped doing it, so open up that box again. What can you do? The research, the collection of results, showcasing it. Start making tickets, speaking to your product owners, speaking to business analysts. And obviously, have some useful tips and tools that I mentioned earlier. You can try and start using those. And a book that I would like to suggest as well is The Design of Everyday Things. Try and read that book. That's really, really interesting. It's called The Design of Everyday Things. That will also help you understand accessibility from that perspective. So, yeah, whether it's a permanent disability or temporary, respect everyone, include everyone onto your websites and products, not just front end, back end as well. If you're just testing something and you can't really manage to do it, or if you're developing something, you can't do it, that's worrying. So make sure everything's inclusive, you involve everyone, and be alified. Thank you very, very much.